Welcome everybody to another episode of the Misplay podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Tyler.
And this is the podcast where we talk about anything and everything TCG related, anything we've been playing, anything we've been opening, our thoughts and anything.
Thoughts, feelings, rants, expectations.
Yeah.
Sadness.
The whole deal.
Sadness.
So you're going to get a lot of emotion in this episode.
Yeah, you were hearing about some lost tapes that'll never come to light.
Yeah, how have you been, brother?
All right. Kind of tired. Kind of sore as I just got tattooed yesterday.
Yes, yeah, man. We both have tattoos, which we don't generally show too often on the.
Because everything you guys see is like our faces, which aren't tattooed, or our hands, which aren't tattooed.
Yeah, so you're getting a big Japanese piece on your arm.
Yeah, on my left arm.
3/4, right?
3/4 sleeve. Stopped. I can't move it too much, but stopped around there. So it'll pop up in some videos going forward, but won't be super visible. You've got more on your arm than I do.
Not anymore.
No,
I mean on the arm, yes.
Across the arms.
Yeah, and in terms of like tattoos in the whole, you've definitely got more than I again. So I'm gonna one up you later this year.
Gotta get a forehead tattoo.
So yeah, absolutely.
Get the Millennium Eye on your forehead.
But so recently we opened.
This is not a tattoo podcast.
No, yeah, it's not.
Back to regularly scheduled.
Recently, we opened a booster box. So Adam was kind enough to gift us a box of Power of the Elements.
Yes, thank you very much, Adam. We were graciously gifted a box.
Yeah.
It's set we've been raving and ranting about for a long time. Super keen. I've been so excited for this box.
A lot of hype into this box. It introduced sprites, Tearlaments, which is the one you're building. You were super excited for them. Static 10 out of 10 in terms of how competitive they are. They seem to be 10 out of 10.
Yep.
Which we'll go into Tearlaments shortly because I don't know too much about them. You're the one building them. But it also did have support. Like Rika got a really good field spell and a really good main deck monster. Mathmech got their main deck monster. Venduraid's got a few support cards actually, which is really weird.
as well.
E-Hero got a plethora.
New archetype in Vernisylph.
Vernisylph, which is cheap and fun. And then there's a couple generic support cards as well. Like the fairy card is getting quite a lot of play from what I've seen. It's the one we pulled in our box.
Divine Karapuka.
Yeah, Capta Puka Puka
Capta
Puka. Whatever it is.
Divine Karapika.
So that's actually getting a little bit of play right now, which is fun to see. Ultimate Slayer, still insanely expensive.
Draconic Aura, Draconic
something. The trap card.
Draco Utopian Future.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Something like
and that's incredible. That's such a great staple trap.
Very, very good. There was just a lot of cards for a lot of the archetypes we're currently building and new ones that you could potentially build as well.
Morphtronic,
yeah. I
don't want to see that. No, don't. We're getting into that later.
They're so bad.
I told you that prior. I told you that.
So the box we opened.
It was at the end of a work day. I met up with Adam when I finished. We came over to your house to open it. We chucked the camera on. You know, you started cracking packs.
We generally do half each.
Yes, we generally do half each, just to change up the vibe, maybe change up the luck. Good juju. And then you opened the packs. You weren't pulling anything. You weren't pulling shit.
I didn't pull shit, yeah.
And then I got on. I was in control. And do you want to explain what happened?
So my half, I knew, like I set up the camera, I knew where the framing was when I was opening packs. Well, right, smack bam in the middle of the screen. We switch, you take a seat, you take over to open your packs. The very first pack is off screen. So here, like this is where you should be opening the packs on screen. You pull them down here. They're completely off. The only time you see the cards you pull is when you're popping them back up in screen to pop them in the pile, like commons, supers, ultras, etc. I was like, okay, maybe it's one pack. It's like, okay, it's the second pack. I skip through, and it just gets worse because you just get more relaxed. So that
I was also very upset.
So that box opening, we couldn't upload it.
Sorry. Sorry, Adam, who I knew wanted to see that on the channel. Look, sorry. Josh will be in charge of ripping packs from now on, as I'm an absolute menace.
I mean, to be fair, what I should have done is told you where to hold the cards. So partly my fault. It was really
look,
just
we'll 100% put the blame on you, and I'm fine with that.
But luckily, we didn't pull anything crazy. You know,
yeah,
no
thankfully, we only pulled bullshit.
Yeah, we pulled the fairy card, and that was the best card out of the thing.
Yeah, we didn't pull anything we wanted. Me looking to build Tearlaments, looking to get some Riga stuff. You looking to get Circular and the Exo-Sister cards.
Yeah, the two Exo-Sister cards, which we've already done a couple duels with them. We've done a set. and they're drastically different with just those couple cards.
We'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah, like that box was maybe the most disappointing box we've ever had. On my
Second
end.
to most.
On my end, at
okay,
least.
on your end, yeah.
But, you know, it lost tapes. If this video gets 100 likes, we'll release the tapes.
Oh, that's if I've still got it. That's if I've still got
I'll
it.
search through his rubbish bin.
You won't want that. You won't want that.
But, you know, hopefully, yeah, for the packs going forward, because you know, we'll be opening a box of every mainline set,
Yes.
especially Darkwing Blast.
Oh, I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
Mainly for you because of Black Wings. You've been talking about Black Wings forever.
Yeah, and they're on a slow build. A slightly quicker build as of recently, but still a slow build. But yeah, this has been a really good set. You know, we've able to get some of the cards in. We had to, you know, got some from our local sports card world. Got them day of drop. And some we had to get elsewhere, like my Tearlaments cards, which are still on the way. But yeah, there's a lot of good support. We've managed to get some early duels out, like your Exorcister cards.
Yeah, so those have been super, super fun. Exorcister now have a way to force out an Xyz summon with one card, which is Martha, who also cheats out Elise from the deck. So she's a one card setup, which is insane.
Anything where you break the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the rules of summoning, that pretty much makes your deck a lot better.
Yeah, so what I was going to talk about today was, I guess, more Tearlaments. So you have to brief me a bit more on Tearlaments because I haven't tested them, I haven't played against them. I was just kind of waiting for you to bring them and I would see what they can do.
Yeah.
But my understanding is their gimmick, for the most part, if you've told me correctly, is once they hit the graveyard, they trigger a fusion summon. Is that correct?
Yeah, a lot of them is when they go to the graveyard via card effect, they trigger a fusion summon, shuffling into the deck from your hand, field, or graveyard.
Oh, that's really good.
I'm pretty sure it's definitely field and graveyard. I think it's hand as well.
That's really good. If it includes the graveyard, those infamously are very, very powerful.
It's mainly the graveyard.
Okay, that's really good. So that is technically breaking a game mechanic.
Yes.
And the reason why those do so well is we look at the history of YGO. Like the best deck ever, I guess the second best deck ever was Zodiacs.
Yes.
And they were an Xyz deck that wasn't Xyz summoning. It was super, super weird.
Overlaying and breaking the game.
Yeah, using one card, kind of like Exosister, but Exosister your opponent has to meet the requirement. So it's a lot harder to get out. So it feels very balanced. And Martha's the only one which can force it out. Whereas Zodiacs were like, I've got one Beast Warrior on board, I can Xyz, which made no sense.
Why link one when you can Xyz one?
Yeah, and then you can keep Xyz summoning with that Xyz monster, and it was a mess. So that was a very big broken mechanic. And that's still like talked about as the second best deck ever, if not the best.
Yeah.
Tri Brigade was another one where they link summon banishing from the graveyard, which makes zero sense.
Yeah.
And they still see competitive play to today, and they will for a very long time because of that mechanic, and because Beast Warriors, Beasts, and Wing Beasts are infamously very powerful.
Like a lot of good generics in there.
Yeah, I mean, Zodiacs are all Beast Warrior.
Yeah.
So they're just going to naturally fit in with archetypes like this. So there are a lot of other archetypes which kind of break a mechanic or have a unique mechanic like that. And Tearlaments is one of them. It's not the most broken, where like if it was fusion summon, like if it triggers and fusion summons using the deck, I'm whatever. Like you can't
You mean
beat
like
that.
Shadows?
Like Shadows, but Shadows need specific cards
Yeah.
to do that. And your opponent needs to meet the requirement for it. So it still feels balanced. And it's why Shadows have seen competitive play to this day. And can still be fun in casual competitive play because they don't feel overpowered.
Yeah.
Tearlaments, not as busted in terms of game mechanic, but it is still very interesting that they have a trigger fusion on their monsters being sent to the graveyard.
Yeah, it's it's kind of nuts. Like I remember when I first this is back when it was announced in the OCG. I popped it into Ignis Pro, YGO Pro, and just messing around with it. And typically, I don't read the cards first. I'll just chuck them all in a deck and go test hands. And just by activating the effects, I had like 2 fusions on board and two traps set. And it's like I didn't know what I was doing. I was mashing through it, and I was able to get a board.
Wow, that's actually pretty wild.
It's just like Sword Soul.
Because I was going to ask, so Sword Soul kind of break a game mechanic as well.
Yes.
To a degree where it's a one-card synchro summon.
Yeah.
I know it's technically used as a token, but the token comes
The token
from that one
becomes
card.
a token tuner.
So it is very, very broken in a sense. Tearlaments, like, because you obviously built Sword Soul, do Tearlaments feel very similar in terms of the way Sword Soul played, where it's you can't mess it up?
You can mess up.
Okay.
Because you still have to manage resources of what's going to the graveyard because each of them have different effects. For instance, like the big fusion requires the specific main deck monster.
Kaleido Heart?
Kaleido Heart needs Rhino Heart, the main deck. It's one of its fusion materials. Kit Carless, the other one, needs whatever.
I'm just gonna say I really like that.
Yeah.
Because an issue I've been having lately with YGO is generic shit.
Yep.
I'm so sick of it.
Yep.
And it feels refreshing to know that you do need to run somewhat of a Tearlaments engine to use the extra deck.
Exactly. And that's why I'm somewhat fine with it, is that you for Kaleido Heart, you need Rhino Heart. So you do need to manage resources a little bit. But I love Sword Soul, right? I think they're super fun. I'll probably never get rid of them. But it's a bit annoying as it feels like there is one combo path a lot of the time.
Yeah, until they, like, the only way they can mix up, because I was thinking about that as well, because every time you play Sword Soul and I watch Sword Soul, it's always the same thing. It's summon Moye, get the token, get the search, get the draw, and what's the other one? Long One or whatever?
Long one.
Yeah, and it's going to get you Sinister Sovereign. It's going to be the same play. You can search Blackout, whatever.
Yeah.
Very, very consistent, and that's always good for our decks, so it's never a bad thing. But until they release another, like, level 8 synchro that can do something different, you're going to be stuck in the same line of play.
Same lines.
Because Chen Ying is going to be the last one you generally go into.
Yeah.
Is the one with the, just gets really, really powerful and has pretty good immunity.
Yeah.
So he comes out generally last from the times we've played it and from what I've seen.
He's
for
the one I
most part.
look to end games. He's my finisher.
Yeah. But you've always got the same starter. So it's kind of similar to how I viewed like early build mutants, where it was the same play. It's get Ultimus out, sit on Ultimus. And I need to do that as soon as possible. So whilst I had different lines of play, yours is generally going to be the same line of play. So it is more streamlined. But then they printed more support and synthesis obviously being very, very different from Ultimus. Whereas your bodies just kind of have to sit on the board all at once. So I think if you do get another level 8 synchro that offers something different, like if it may be, I don't know, I've not put into thought into what it could be, but obviously you don't want to give them something busted because they're already very good.
100%. And we've talked about this not recently, but a while ago, and it's a big reason a lot of the decks we enjoy. It's either give me multiple paths to the same end destination or give me one path to multiple end destinations. That being like a toolbox extra deck, like with Shadow or Blackwing or Fire Fist, where like, oh cool, I'm going to my extra deck. I have 5 different options to choose from. Or I'm going to my one boss monster. Give me 6 different ways to get there.
What would you classify Tearlaments as? Are they somewhat of a toolbox, or like what is that like? Once
There's
the
multiple
fusions are out-
paths. There's 2.
Okay, so what are
There's
they?
3 coming. There's a third one coming. There's 3 coming. There's one more coming in the next mainline set. When you say it's not a toolbox, but it's multiple ways to get to them.
Okay, so what I mean is, you know, obviously Altergeist is a trap control deck. Mathmech is an OTK deck.
Okay, yeah.
And then
so
you've got your toolbox
general
decks
playstyle,
like Shadows.
I would say their control,
Okay,
mid-level control.
okay, I got that.
So they have reasonable attack, 26 to 2700. They can play going second with the field spell. They're kind of crazy versatile the way Sword Soul is. They can go play first or second.
That's probably why they're probably mid-tier controls, because they are quite versatile.
Because they're crazy versatile.
They just don't have a big toolbox.
Big toolbox,
Okay.
yeah. But it's multiple pathways to get to that. Because it's a contact fusion from the graveyard.
Oh, it's contact fusion.
Yeah,
It's not even freaking.
I don't use poly.
So there's not even like an in-art type fusion, like a spell.
No,
Oh my
no.
God.
It's
all
the monster
contact
effects.
fusion. It's wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even more. I didn't even know that. I think you did mention at one point. I've completely forgotten because
Yeah. It's contact fusion from the graveyard shuffling into the deck.
that's another mechanic which is kind of like
Busted.
not
I don't
really
like it.
fusion.
I don't like it.
Contact fusion's never really sat right with me because you should have just made this something else.
Make it a link, make it a synchro, make it an Xyz, make it a new thing. To me, fusions, you need either a poly variant, or an in-archetype poly.
They kind of feel like rituals in a way, except
Yes.
they're monsters in the extra deck.
Yeah. So it's all contact fusion from the graveyard, and it's multiple pathways to get to that.
It's going to be hard to shut down.
It will be, and they'll be slippery. It's why I enjoy them, because it's like it's multiple pathways to get to my end board of Kaleido Heart plus Kit Carlos.
So obviously in our format, we play completely pure. So if you guys see our deck builds, our live duels, generally no hand traps. You've maybe got a couple across your 10 decks. They're all gone? Okay, so
they're all consigned.
No hand traps. In the extra deck, you know, for example, Tearlaments, we'll just have Tearlaments fusion monsters, nothing else. No Appaloosa, no Boral Sword. So with that in mind, and without what our format is, because our top tier decks probably, you know, Virtual World, Live Twin, Sword Soul, Sky Striker, Mutant. Do you see them being up there?
If I get that field spell, yes.
Yes, okay.
Without the field spell, top of B.
Okay.
Maybe bottom of A.
That's still good. I mean, once you've made it to A tier in our format, you feel like you've achieved something.
Yeah.
Like the time and the money that you've put into it is going to make it stay for a while.
If I can get my hands on the field spell, so for those who don't know, the field spell is $80 to $90 here in Australia. It's too much for me to justify, considering I have, you know, a handful of other things I have to pay for in life. We're adults.
And YouTube don't pay well.
YouTube don't pay us at all.
Nothing.
If we had some sponsorship or some fans want to send me some copies of the field spell, go nuts. But I'm building them without the field spell, so they're going to be probably B. If I get my hands on the field spell, absolutely A, mid-level A.
Speaking of which, YouTube paying no money, just quickly. We don't, none of our stuff's monetized. Whenever you click on a video, there's no ad because you need to reach a certain threshold before we're allowed to run ads and make revenue. There was a fucking ad on one of our videos the other day because I accidentally clicked on one of our videos. I was meant to click on something else and it played like a 15-second ad. I'm like, YouTube, you sneaky fuck. I'm not getting any of this money.
It's YouTube getting money.
Yeah, YouTube, fuck you.
Fuck you.
But we're getting ever closer. We should be at 300 subs in the next month.
Yeah, be aware,
really
fans.
exciting.
The moment we can monetize, we will.
Oh, we sell out.
We will sell out. I've reached out to multiple Yu-Gi-Oh sellers asking for partnerships and collaborations and whatever.
You are the networking king.
Absolutely. I'm looking to, like, sell out's a bit of a rough word, but we want to allow this to help fund our Yu-Gi-Oh ventures. So we can do more of this.
It's why we have so many decks and why we move off so many, because it's meant to fund itself for like maybe 60% of it.
Yeah, ideally. That'd be lovely.
That'd be great. So we're trying to get back on board with that. I guess speaking of TCGs quickly before we get back into YGO, have you familiar with what's going on with Grand Archive at all? Because you said, like, because you've been great with networking.
Correct.
You managed to get us an interview with Chris Nagu, one of the developers for Grand Archive. That was meant to release back in April, May this year. Never happened. They've been a bit flaky with like information on there. There's no information on their Twitter. Their website doesn't really say anything. Kickstarter doesn't really say anything. Did you ever manage to reach out to Chris or anyone from the Grand Archive team?
I haven't, just because work's been really busy, but they do post very regularly on Instagram.
Okay, I've not checked
So
Instagram.
every couple days, I just check in their bio, releasing Q1 2023. So it was pushed back, but they release a lot of updates with card art and card text every couple days on Instagram.
Okay, so that'll be the place, I guess, for anyone interested in Grand Archive, if you made it through this far on the podcast.
And we're interested in jumping back in.
Yeah, because that's, like, we haven't done any content on Grand Archive for the reason there hasn't been anything.
Yeah.
We were hoping at this point, actually, to be looking forward to the booster set.
Yeah, we'd have the structure decks, the proper structure decks, and looking towards the booster set.
Look, I'm always a fan of when a company pushes something back, you know, in terms of, like, say the video game industry having publishers force something out early. It's like a half-baked cake. It's not going to be very good.
And it's always awful crunch on the people who are making it.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they're taking the time. It seems that they are taking the feedback in. Because I remember in our interview, they had a lot of feedback.
Yes.
We gave a little bit of feedback as well and some thoughts. And hopefully we can get an update on how the game's going to play and get some more cards. Because right now it is just the structure deck and they're every now and then on Instagram and Twitter is what I usually see it through. A lot of card art, alternate card art, which is cool to see. I'm a big fan of that.
Hopefully I'll reach out to them soon and see if we can get another interview. Not to ask more from our end, just for they can be like, hey, here's what we've been doing for the past few months. Here's some changes we've been looking to do. Just to give them like an extra video platform to reach out.
Absolutely. Another TCG I've been playing, because Grand Archive is kind of obviously shelved for now until 2023 potentially. But Adam and I, so he came over one day after you and I filmed a couple live duel episodes. Adam and I started playing some Magic. Didn't know
How did that go?
I didn't know Adam's never played Magic before. Turns out it was me and my brother that have played in the past. So it was literally teaching Adam from absolute scratch, and it was a refresher for me as well, because there were some basic things I forgot. Super fun. Have you played Magic before?
The first time I ever played a Magic or a Magic variant was Hearthstone. And now, is it the same? No. Is it a variant of the Magic format? Yes.
Very simplified version.
A very simplified version, absolutely. And I bought a Magic structure deck back in 2020 and tried it with you and didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Again, I've heard people say that the structure deck that I got, I think it was like the Commander one, is not a good starter for Magic because it's too slow. There's no combos. It doesn't really... It doesn't allow Magic to shine the way the game does. So I've dabbled very lightly, but please tell me how...
Yeah, so it was... Like, super fun. Having that refresher and teaching someone from scratch how to play Magic. I think Magic is... I think there's 3 tiers in terms of the TCGs that are well-known. You've got Pokemon, Magic, and YGO. Pokemon, you can learn in one sitting, and in my opinion, grasp the entire concept in one sitting. Magic is... not Magic. Pokemon is very, very entry-level friendly. It feels low ceiling... low floor, low ceiling.
Low ceiling,
and that's great. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, some things you want that.
Yeah, and I think the biggest pull with Pokemon is the fact it's Pokemon. You grow up with these cards, and there's variations of your favorite Pokemon.
Yeah. Oh, you want to play Charizard? Cool. Here's 500 Charizards to choose from. Pick your favorite.
Absolutely, that's 100% it. And then YGO is high floor, high ceiling.
Correct.
Trying to teach someone that's never played YGO before is going to take multiple sessions to grasp the basics of it.
It took us months to grasp the basic, even though we grew up the series.
Well, we've been playing for almost 3 years at this point regularly.
Crazy.
And it was only a few weeks ago that I learnt that if you pop like a continuous spell or a field spell mid-activation, it won't resolve unless it specifically says, even if this card leaves the field. It took 3 years for us to realize that. And like trying to explain broken game mechanics like Tri-Brigade, like Zodiac.
Plunder.
Plunder. That's another good example of a broken game mechanic. And it's like, those are another thing. That's an advanced level thing you need to teach. And that's a whole archetype. That's how it plays. So that, to me, YGO is high floor, high ceiling. Magic, to me, is low floor, high ceiling.
Okay, it's the best of both worlds.
You can learn it in one sitting, but there is a very high ceiling of play where you can really master it. So I feel like those 3 TCGs have something entirely different to offer, and that was very evident for me when I was teaching Adam Magic, because he picked it up very quickly. You know, Adam and I have played quite a few TCGs in the past.
Digimon, Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy was so fun. It was just the artwork, which is why we stopped. But it is similar to Magic. You could very easily tell Final Fantasy and most TCGs will pick things from Magic.
It's the Godfather. It's everything else exists because Magic exists.
Yeah. It's a lot more fun than when I used to play. So obviously YGO is what we were used to. Very, very combo heavy, very fast paced. And one of the funnest things to do is interrupting your opponent and making sure you've interrupted the right card at the right time. It makes you feel like you've not only understood your cards, but you've understood the timing and on how your opponent's playing. Magic's very similar into that now. And it's probably been years since I've last properly played, and it feels like it has shifted to where in the past, a lot of it is, for the first few turns, set land, set land, set land, set land, very boring. It's always going to have that where you set a land and maybe have to pass turn, maybe set another land in your next turn, pass turn. But once it starts to get going, it's very, very fun. And something I feel like the game has revolved around a bit more now, more than ever, are the instant cards, which is just hand traps.
Okay.
They're just sorcery cards, like spell cards, but can be activated at any point during either player's turn.
Yeah.
And it was really fun seeing, like, I was setting up my board and I'm like, Adam, I'm sorry, buddy. I've got game. I'm swinging with these 3. What are you going to do? And he activates essentially a hand trap, pays the mana cost. He kept it there preparing for it in my turn. And it completely swung the tide of the game. And he ended up coming back because I didn't anticipate a hand trap. And that to me was another level of play. Like Pokemon doesn't have that. YGO obviously has that, but very limited hand trap pool where there are so many instant cards in Magic where now I'm constantly feeling like I can't overextend or I can't afford to think that he doesn't have a hand trap or an instant card, I guess I should be saying. So that was really fun. It was like a D&D set as well, so it involved rolling D20s for certain effects.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Very unique.
One thing I do love about Magic, I've never been a big fan of set rotation. I understand it's why it's there. I understand how it's really good for certain things. But one thing they do really well when they do set rotation is each set is completely different. Cool mechanics, completely different themes. And that's something I appreciate. So this one being a D&D style set.
Yeah. I've got mixed feelings on set rotation.
That's a can of worms.
Yeah, I'm not going to unbox it. But I did overhear, now I'm yet to confirm because I've been so busy, but I did read something somewhere. Like Magic are just known for so many formats, so it is a bit intimidating to get into. But apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is a format where there is no set rotation. You can just use whatever you'd like.
An eternal format.
Yeah, like an eternal format. I can't confirm, but I did read it somewhere. So that would obviously be the one to go to because I just don't like set rotation. Because I think like YGO deserves to be praised for having only like 100 cards on the ban list and having like 15,000 cards. How have they managed to do that? Like that's
one card has to be balanced with every other card ever made.
Exactly. It's an immense challenge, and I praise Konami for doing that very, very well. And I'm brand new to Magic, but it's been a lot of fun. I've been on Magic Arena, which is the online, essentially Master Duel, and that's where I've actually experienced combo plays. So I think I was telling Adam where I was just using a generic like white deck. And it was a thing, it was like I had a monster on the field, or I guess they call it creature. So I had a creature on the field, and it was if I summon a certain creature, I gain a life point. And then the creature I would summon would be if I gain a life point, this card gains attack. So I would summon it, gain life, gain attack. And then I would summon a second creature of the same one. So I would gain a life, and they would both gain attack. So these low attack monsters would get boosted really quick. Then the fourth monster I would summon would be another gain life point one. And they're not hard, they're not once per turns. So I would gain a life point, they'd gain 2 stacks of attack, gain another life point, they'd gain 2 more stacks of attack. And there was a lot of comboing like that I hadn't experienced before.
And that's really fun low-level comboing. So it's not like, oh, I'm comboing to completely wipe your board and set up my 10 negates. It's like, I'm going to summon this, which will give me life, which will trigger him to give him an extra 1 attack. So it's like, it's low-level. You allow that combo of like sparks in your brain of I figured the puzzle, but it also doesn't, oh, I figured the puzzle because this game is mine. It swings it in my favor, but it doesn't 100% decide the game like it does in Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, you're absolutely right. It feels like a lot of it is just trying to throw your opponent off. Like, who would have thought that me having a few low-level monsters would result in them having like 6 and 6, like attack and defense, and me gaining like 6 to 12 life points. You don't expect that from low-level monsters, but because you've had the right cards in your hand and the right mana cost, it's really grown into a big problem for your opponent all of a sudden. But it's not impossible to out. It's quite easily to out, but now your opponent has to deal with it.
They have to think about it as well. You can gain life points and then go off.
So very, very contrasting.
You played an Aroma deck.
Yeah, no. So I think Adam said the same thing, was like, that's the deck I want to build. Once I properly grasp Magic, I want to build a like pure angel deck, because I love, you know me, I love the angelic
Valkyrie style aesthetic. 100%.
I adore it. So that's what I want to go for. And a lot of them happen to revolve around gaining life points and whatnot. So that's definitely what I'm going to do. I guess the last thing I'll say about Magic is fucking your Reddit community sucks ass. Y'all are so toxic. So the thing I love I adore about the YGO community, and I'd consider us a part of it because we make content on it.
We do, yeah.
YGO fans love shitting on YGO. It's not a perfect card game. We're very aware
Yes.
of that. And we make fun of it a lot. There's a lot of things which we wish we could implement from other TCGs, which would help it. We're so sick of generic stuff. But the TCG works for the most part. Magic fans vehemently hate YGO, specifically YGO. They know they have the best TCG. And they've put themselves on that pedestal, and that's fine. Do whatever you want. Talk your shit. But they hate YGO. Like, there was some dude online that was saying, like, oh, YGO's the worst fucking card game ever made. And he was listing all the card games that are better. And he named Keyforge as one of them, which is barely a fucking card game. They're pre-constructed decks. It's rightfully so. It's not a very good thing. But I'm like, YGO's lasted over 20 years for a reason.
Yeah, if it was bad, it would have died.
Exactly.
Just because it's not for you doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, and then they were saying, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, because this triggered me. And I was talking to Adam about this a little bit, but I don't think he quite grasped it because he doesn't play YGO. From the outside looking into YGO, you would assume archetypes run the game.
Correct.
You would assume you run, like, say, Zodiacs, and all you're doing is playing Zodiacs. And I think that's the furthest thing from the truth. Once you start playing YGO at a high level...
Are we talking about meta play?
No, just in general.
Just in general. Okay.
I mean, obviously ours is a bit different.
Yeah.
Because we're running it completely pure.
Yeah.
But we're generally the minority. When you start actually playing YGO outside of a format that we've created, and you start looking at how professionals play and whatnot, they run the most generic things.
Correct.
They use like 2 to 3 engines in one deck.
The base deck was the top deck for a while because it was like 5 different archetypes.
Yeah. And there's such a variation. Like, you are never going to find a pure archetype in competitive play. Like, ever. The extra deck is full of random crap for the best things. So when I hear a Magic player say, oh, you're just playing archetype, if you're not playing the best archetype, then you're not winning, where Shadows have been around forever. Dogmatica still see play. Eldritch still sees play. All these decks still... Fusion good stuff is a thing for a reason.
Fusion good stuff.
It's just the good fusion stuff.
Yeah.
Invoked has been around, it feels like 6 years at this point.
Like, right now, I know people are running Tearlaments, Shadows, and Invoked.
Fusion good stuff.
Fusion good
Right?
stuff.
It's not just Tearlaments. So I've never liked that argument of you have to run the best archetype, which is not the case. Like, Dragon Link isn't an archetype. It's a few rockets with some borrows and chaotic ruler and whatnot. So it's very all over the place.
Yeah.
Which I love about YGO. We just have a particular format.
Yeah.
The only other thing which also doesn't make sense is I don't think YGO gets enough credit for how unique its play styles are. So with Magic, it's not as broad as you may think. You've got your control style, your aggro style, your more life point style, more control style, things like that. So whilst there are a lot of variations between it because they don't have archetypes, you can run, angels with human clerics and beasts and whatnot. So there's no archetype, but anything to facilitate a type of play.
Yeah.
But you are kind of locked into that type of play. Whereas YGO, yes, it does have, your aggro decks, your control decks, your OTK decks. The way they go about it is so unique.
Correct. Exosister is Exosister, I don't even know what you call that, like a mid-level deck. But like, let's take 2 grind decks, Live Twin and Eldritch. These are 2 control-y, meant to grind out, meant to go multiple turns. They do it in completely different ways.
There's not another deck like Live Twin. There's not another deck like Eldritch. There's not another deck like Tri-Brigade. There's
like
not
Weather
deck
Painter.
like Sky Striker, Weather Painter, Dark Lords.
Yeah.
They're all so unique, and they don't get the credit they deserve.
A lot of time they feel like they're all from, and that's the sort of the point, they feel like they're all partially from different card games, different universes.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the reason why we love archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is each of them are unique. Again, like we talk about Vernisil before, I've started building them. How did I explain them to you last night or 2 days ago?
All right, so you texted me and you explained Vernisil as they are the protectors of the earth. They want to protect the land. And then your last sentence was like, they will take your monsters and plant them in the ground.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounded so brutal.
Yeah.
But they're just farmers.
These are magical fairies protecting their block of land.
Yeah.
This is Fern Gully archetype.
Yeah.
It's
but
but they're
unique.
completely different from every other thing, and they feel completely different.
Yep.
Where that was my issue when, like, again, we've tested a lot. Testing Pokemon, testing Digimon, testing Magic. None of them are so different in their archetype and their themes the way Yu-Gi-Oh is.
Yeah, like Wixis was very, very straightforward.
well,
It's
yeah.
still, you're still playing around its game mechanic
Yeah.
as a core. YGO, you're playing to what you know.
Each archetype has its own game mechanics.
Yeah, and you said it best, which I've never actually been able to explain it that way, but you're absolutely right, where each well-done archetype feels like its own card game.
Yep.
And our forever decks are the ones where we adore the art style and we adore the play style because it feels unique
Yep.
in that regard. That's why Dark Lords, despite not being great, I love them. I love the aesthetic. I love how unique they are. And if you're on the outside looking in for YGO, you're not going to see that aspect.
No.
You're going to see, okay, it is just an archetype that you're running. Oh, Altergeist and Dynamorphia, they're control decks. Okay, I see. They're the same thing. The furthest thing from the thing, I play with 1 life point in Dynamorphia and have to manage my graveyard resources. Altergeists are all about summoning from the deck, and now you've figured out new lines of play with their links.
100%. And Yu-Gi-Oh! In the past 3 years, maybe even 4 to 5 years, is making each archetype more and more unique. Where, like, previously it was like, cool, this is more of a standard control deck with some unique elements. And now it's like Vernisylph, where I'm taking control of your monsters, and now that monster is an Earth Fairy. Every monster on my board is now an Earth Fairy, regardless of what their original things are. That would never happen before. That is now a unique thing. That Vernisylph, even though they're not great, have their own mechanic, their own card game.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it reminds me of Zombie World Eldritch, where you can play Eldritch and a variant of it is Zombie World, where once Zombie World's on the field, all monsters are zombies. Just like Vernisylph, all monsters are going to be Earth Fairy. And it's a completely different line of play, which you would see from any other archetype, but you can still refine it, some archetypes as well, to be even more niche
100%.
to fit a certain play style. Like my Master Dogmatica deck is a deck I guarantee you've never seen it before.
Yeah.
Because I've gone out of my way to make it unique, but it's still Dogmatica.
Yeah.
It's just been a load of fun, and I guess for anyone that hasn't played YGO before and it looks intimidating, it is intimidating.
Yes.
But it's not what it seems like. There is so much freedom within the TCG, especially if you're not wanting to stick to a format like ours where everything has to be pure. If you just wanted to play the TCG for the sake of playing the TCG, get a Shadow deck, get a Despia deck, a branded deck.
Yeah.
There was like a 12-year-old kid that topped his locals going 5-0, just mixing 2 structure decks together.
Good on him.
I'm like, fuck yeah. Like
Fuck yeah, dude.
This is what I want YGO to be, where you can put a couple structure decks together
And figure it out.
it be good.
Like Ice Barrier and Spirit Charmer. On that note, we're gonna move towards the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I guess we'll end on a high note.
Yeah.
So the upcoming booster set, which is the deck
Tactical
build set,
Masters?
Tactical Masters. Shout out to Konami for actually getting this one right. I don't care for the archetypes, but we had a big issue with Grand Creators where it felt like 1/4 of the set was Inzectors, which were not new. A deck build set should always be new.
Yep.
And 4 or 5 hollow slots were Inzector slots.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be the case. Hollow slots should always be introducing the
new
new
stuff.
cards.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done with the new Tactical Masters set. It's so good to see the hollows being Runic cards, Labyrinth cards, and Valence cards.
Valence? Valiance?
Valence.
Valence? Okay, cool.
Should have been Valiance, but for whatever reason they changed it to Valence.
That's just fine. I'm going to be building Runics and most likely Labyrinth. You'll see them for content. I don't know how long they're going to stick around, but you'll absolutely see them on this channel.
I could see Runic sticking around for quite some time.
Because I like mill decks. I like weird decks.
It's not even like you have always wanted to do mill because you tried building Ghost Trick Mill and it came so close.
always
to
kinda
victory.
worked.
Yeah. This is the best mill deck which has ever existed.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a unique enough gimmick. Like with it's not only just a mill, it's an in-archetype quick play spell.
Yeah.
Which is super fun. And your only monsters are fusion monsters that go in the extra monster zone. It's unique on unique on unique.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that we tend to enjoy quite a bit.
100%. So I definitely see them sticking more than Labyrinth, but you will see both of them on this channel. And then the next set after that is Darkwing Blast.
I believe so, which feels very far away, but it isn't.
Yeah, it's
We're
like just 3 months.
breezing through these months.
Yeah.
Darkwing Blast is going to be the big one.
Yes. You'll see Blackwing's 100% done by the time that's out. We're
super excited
definitely
for.
getting a box.
I know there were some cards in Blackwing which I needed as well, but I can't remember them.
Blackwing?
I don't need
Or
Blackwing.
Darkwing?
I don't need them. Oh, it's Darkwing Blast. Sorry,
Darkwing Blast. I think why would you need Blackwing cards?
No. I don't need Darkwing Blast. I feel like there are some cards I need in that
Probably.
set, but I've completely forgotten it.
We'll refresh by next podcast. But if you've made it through this far, thank you very, very much. If you've recently joined the channel, thank you very, very much. We upload content very regularly now. We had a few ups and downs with our schedule, but we've got a new recording setup where we're just keeping stuff in the bank. We got deck builds going up. We got live builds going up. We've got a Scrub League tournament filming soon.
Yes, super exciting. We've started filming some of the background content for it. I've ordered some of the last cards for my decks.
And if you saw our last tournament video, it won't be that long.
It'll hopefully be like...
We said this before, but thank you to everyone who watched our tournament video. It's 4 hours. It's intimidating length. This Scrub League tournament will be maybe a quarter of that.
Yeah, at tops, it'll half it.
Yeah.
At absolute tops.
Absolute tops. Probably an hour long. So get excited for that if you enjoy a tournament style video. Thank you to everyone who's subbed. Thank you to everyone who's watched any of our videos. We are currently at 280 subs. And it'll be fun to look back on this when we hit 1 million subs, because we will. And see, at this point, we're at 280. At 300, we want to celebrate. At 50K channel views, we want to celebrate.
Who's the biggest YGO person in the entire community?
Team APS?
No,
it's Team Samurai,
Team
isn't
Samurai.
it?
And he's at like 600,000. So the chances of us
coming for you, fam.
We're coming for you with 280.
280.
We're not far away.
Yeah.
Just about 600,000 away. But we got it.
Check yourself, fam.
So that's it from us at the Misplay. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Stick around for the next live duel, the next deck build. Keep recommending stuff, and peace.
Deuces.